fitness, factory, health clubs hits the franchisor hot seat. Coming up next. All right, Dennis, we start with you, then we'll get to the brand. But how did you accidentally fall into franchising? What's your franchise backstory?
Pretty much exactly the way that you just described it was accidentally. We were in the health club business and had a bunch of corporate locations starting back in 1998, and we're just growing organically. But we were eyeing a franchisor to purchase back in 2017 and really just couldn't come to terms. And, you know, the locations of the franchisees were great and it would have been perfect to fit into our fold, but the timing just wasn't right on the purchase price and the terms and such. So we just took a step back and watched it over the next few years. And then just coming out of COVID in April of 2022, it was the right time, and we stayed in touch and had good relations and closed on it. So we purchased a franchisor, which allowed us to gain entry into the franchising world and converted those brand names from the old franchisor to the Fitness Factory. Still have a couple more to go before they meet our criteria that qualify for the transition. And we're actively and diligently now selling franchises.
How many units do you guys have?
We have 8 right now, with a couple in the hopper. We expect to be growing probably about 5 per year, I think is a strategic kind of like a controlled growth strategy, so to say.
How does that hit your expectations when you got into this thing? Are you feeling like things have gone the way that you wanted? Have there been any speed bumps?
No speed bumps. Things are going the way that we wanted. We didn't really have, like, we didn't say, oh, let's do this and we're going to open up 20 units a year or something like that. You know, we have private equity behind us where, you know, we're financed all internally. And we grow as fast as the opportunities allow us to. So I don't want to grow because we need to grow or because we want to grow. I want to grow because there's a great opportunity for growth and we're going to take that opportunity. So if there's no opportunities, we probably won't grow. But if there's opportunities, we're going to take as many of them as we can possibly do. And right now, we are seeing those opportunities and we're taking them. And trying to hold them for prospective franchisees. But to the extent that we don't have a franchisee because we're just too busy to find one, so to say, we'll do a corporate store as a placeholder.
Sure. And then eventually flip it over to a franchisee, or are you going to keep developing corporately?
Correct. Yes, we would flip it over to franchisee. So depending on when a franchisee wants to get into the game with us, whether it's early in the beginning, and at which point they would just, you know, we would collectively go out and try to help them find locations and design and build and so on, or already have a lease that's in a great location with a smart and strategic, a well-planned lease with the landlord, and then, you know, designed and built or, you know, under construction, they can come in at that point, or after construction and we just open up for business, they can come in then, or if it stabilizes, the club is stable, and they can come in at that point in time. Mm-hmm. So because we can allow somebody to come in at any stage of the game, we are open to many different risk appetites of prospective franchisees. Some that, look, I want to run a business, but I don't want anything to do with having to find a location and constructing a 20,000 square foot health club, or getting all of the financing required for, you know, 600,000 or so in gym equipment, or, you know, do some leasehold improvements that we all have better things to do with our lives. So depending on when they want to come in, we have a product available for them.
All right, let's switch over to the brand. And there's a reason why I'm going to switch over to the brand this fast, but I'll explain in a second. All right, when I'm looking at a website, especially as a franchise buyer, I'm trying to find the point of differentiation. Show me why I want to buy in the business. And buried in your site is something that I'm gonna read out loud. Dennis, along with 2 colleagues, founded Heartland Restaurant Group
Right.
and signed the largest franchise development agreement with Dunkin' Brands in the history of the franchise.
That's right.
If I'm extracting something, like when we switch over to the business side, and the line that I typically say is, you bet on the jockey, not on the horse. If it were me, if I bought your business today, I'm putting that front and center, because the reality is you already had the franchisee mindset. You got in with a scale mindset, and you said there's going to be a supply and demand. So how do I get into this? And you figure out a way to partner with other human beings successfully. That, in my opinion, is what your why now is. Not own your own business, because I'm betting on you, because you know what you're doing. You've been in this industry, and you've obviously constructed that. When I say that, how does that connect with you?
That's interesting. I always thought it was an asset to let people understand that I have been on the other side of the equation, on the franchisee side, in a big way. So I never really thought about it that much, that to really put it that front and center. But you're not wrong, because when I took that risk, we had to put a significant amount of money down, an ungodly amount of money down as a deposit for the 105 store SDA, store development agreement, that we signed in Pittsburgh and the surrounding 16 counties, where at the time there were no Dunkin' Donuts. They didn't even know what Dunkin' Donuts was in Pittsburgh. So we were building a brand from nothing. And we just hit the ground running and just did one, and it was tremendously successful. And then it just kind of snowballed and snowballed and snowballed. And but we had to build a team, a platform, growth, real estate, training, you name it, just to get it all up and running on the Dunkin' Donuts, within their rules and procedures and playbook, so to say. So it worked out extraordinarily well. It took some time, nothing is overnight, but it took a good amount of time. And but we got it. We started during the credit crisis, so you can imagine it's like, okay, any other meteors you want to throw at us, right? Now? But we were able to make it work.
See, I would play back what we just said. Like if I'm blowing up your website, I have a picture of you standing in front of one of your Dunkin' Donuts at the top. And the reason being is let's establish credibility. And then what you just said, we opened up one, we built the operations, we built the team, we made sure that unit was super successful, and then we moved on to number 2. Like when I'm reading why own a fitness factory, all those words, I could put any logo on your site and they could basically say the same thing. But your point of differentiation ends up being, you put the credit crisis in here. We knew what it was like to ride in turbulence and keep our eye on the prize. Like these are things on why would I want to buy into your business? Because the reality is, and my next question is going to be, well, what's the point of differentiation? There's a lot of competition in fitness. And so if we extract it and say, okay, we're going to compete on the consumer side, on the fitness side, but there's a separate business here. It's the franchise business. And we're going to teach people how to scale and build wealth. It's a different type of customer. And so I would scrap the stock art of 2 people at the top. I'm putting you in front of a Dunkin' Donuts right at the top. And then exactly what you just said, I'm putting those exact bullet points on there, because that's the blueprint on how you build a successful franchisee.
Well, it sounds like I got to hire you to be part of our growth model here.
So what's the point of differentiation? How have you found a way to stand out? Because obviously when you're going to Pittsburgh and there's no Dunkin' Donuts, it's very easy. We're going to be the first Dunkin' Donuts. How have you?
Donuts, but in Pittsburgh there were coffee shops and there were donut shops.
Yeah,
and Starbucks was everywhere. So what's Dunkin' Donuts, for instance? What's the difference between their donut and your donut? Is it a better donut? Is it a worse donut? Coffee, does it really taste that much different? Some people say yes. Some people say just give me a cup of coffee and forget about it. But what we're different in is it's not like our 45-pound plates are any better than anybody else's. But the way that we do it, first of all, we start with real estate. Like I'm a real estate developer. I've done 34 Walgreens in northern and central New Jersey in the New York tri-state area, strip shopping centers, Starbucks, Wawa, gas and convenience, so on. So I've been very experienced in developing and picking location site selection for the last 30 years. So number one, it's all about location, because we don't want to be second fiddle in any location. We don't want to be outpositioned. And then it's lease. You want to have a very, very good lease with the landlord. And you can have a great location, but if you're overpaying for rent or if the lease is no good, then you're going to have a problem. And those are the two main ingredients that we put front and center. And then it's operations, where you throw in our operations, which has been extraordinarily successful since 1998. We believe that we have a great recipe for success in the fitness industry, which is an exploding industry. So then you throw that into the mix, where it's not growing at 5% or anything per year. I mean, we're seeing numbers of 20% plus growth on an annual basis. We see, show me somebody that's under 40 years old, and I'll show you somebody that's 90% likely to have health and wellness as the key center part of their life. And I'll also show you somebody that can't imagine any time of their future life where health and wellness will not be part of the center of their life, which is very interesting.
Okay, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it again. I love these conversations because it's like, I'm like, Dennis, I see it so crystal clear. We get to what we offer, and you say, what is franchising? What can you expect as a franchisee? No, it's site selection. It's the lease negotiation. It's an operational model perfected since '98. And look around at the category. Look how exploding it is based on a 20% growth rate versus 5%. Like, you start reconstructing this thing, and obviously, like, you're taking the methodical approach and you're investing in alongside corporately. So I have no doubt that you're going to grow. But there's such an awesome story here that is like so buried. You're like, hey, we're just another fitness brand in the way that you're presenting, but it's glorious. Any company, any franchisor, and I think this is a mistake that most of them make, they don't go to the real estate selection. But when you nail real estate and you nail lease, you can almost recover your royalty based on the expertise that went into that. You could be shaving off the 5 to 10%, which means, like, when you buy into our franchise, we've optimized the P&L to actually, you don't even have to really worry about royalty because we found it in other areas. That's huge.
That's right. So we sold recently one of our corporate clubs to a franchisee, and it was a not totally mature, but it was like a teenager. It was a growing, still had some growth in it, but so we sold it, and we helped them out with the terms and everything just to make sure that it worked. But most importantly, when they were looking at our numbers, they were like, okay, but then now we have to pay a royalty. But, we took out our corporate expenses that are attributed to each club, whether they're, global expenses that aren't at the club level, but are at the corporate level. And you can imagine, car, advertising, whatever it might have been, accountants and some of my time, some of my partner's time. So, and it evened out. So they were very happy to see that the royalty was basically, they were actually doing better than we were from day one, because the royalty wound up being less than all of the management or global expenses that we were attributing to that club. So it was pretty interesting.
There's so many philosophical things we could talk about, but one thing that drives me nuts is when candidate gets to the finish line, they're like, but what about the royalty? It's like, go ahead, go start your own business and tell me how you're going to pay for website and site selection and brand. But that's like, it's actually the cheapest form of payment in exchange for what you're getting.
Nick, I've been around a long time, where my partner and I are in our 50s, and I've been very successful in many different businesses and so on. And the gyms fell into my lap in 1998 and just kind of ran with it. And it just kept on growing, and the success kept on growing. So, the last thing that we want to do is charge somebody royalty who resents paying it and doesn't feel that they have the value. When I bought the franchisor and It was called Club Metro in April of 2022. I said to the franchisees at the time, I said, you know what? If we can't show you value where you're paying that royalty and you don't believe that you're saving or earning more than the royalty, then I don't want it, to be honest with you. I don't. What am I here to do? I'm going to take somebody's royalty and say thank you and not earn it? I don't want to be in that business. I got better things to do. Like, how about I just do nothing? Watch TV all day. At least I can watch it with a clear conscience and say that
That's right.
I didn't take anybody's money. I'm not here to take anybody's money on a royalty. I have a franchisee right now that came to me. They came to me a year ago, and they said that I want to be in a certain geographical location. I said, great, sounds good, because we would like to expand in that area. It's a natural extension for us to expand from where we are today. We don't want to go, for instance, 1,000 miles away. We want to go and grow organically in the market that we're in, slow, controlled, make sure that it's great real estate. So he says, okay, what do I do? I said, okay, here's the FDD. And we just talked a little bit. And, they had the wait period and all of this nonsense. And after that, they said, okay, what's the next step? I said, do I give you a $50,000 check for your franchise fee? I said, no, I don't want it. Well, what do we do? I said, let's go find a piece of real estate. Because if I can't find a piece of real estate in that market with you, and then once we find the real estate, have a great lease. And if I can't find the great piece of real estate and combine it with a great lease, then I don't want it. I don't want your $50,000. Save your money, because I'm not interested in selling a franchise and then say, okay, good luck, go find a spot, let me know when you have something, and I'll send a site selection committee over there, to approve it after you locate a facility. I don't want that. I'm not in the business of selling franchises to anybody with a heartbeat and $50,000 that says that they qualify. I'm not interested. We're here to hit home runs. That's why we're only growing 3-5 a year. And if we can grow faster than that, that's great. But that's what I feel comfortable with, that we can do some corporates, and then we can do some, 3 to 5 franchises, and I can get my arms around them. I want to make sure that if that franchisee does not want that location, I'm taking it myself as a corporate. So that's our threshold. For me to say, me and my partner and I to say yes to a franchisee, to qualify them. The question is, would we do that deal ourselves? And if the answer is yes, then it's yes to the franchisee. If the answer is no, we wouldn't do it ourselves, but that's good enough for the franchisee. Let them pay us our 50. We'll get our royalty. What do we care? No way. No, thank you. Not happening. Not on this lifetime, as long as we're alive.
Two things I want to say there before we go into the investment. One is, what a great, even core value or visionary statement to say, we're going to earn the royalty. And that's such a big statement. Most franchisors go and sell the franchise. They don't worry about earning the royalty. And it's such a good governor on that. And then the second thing is, obviously in the scenario you're talking about, you qualified them as a human, and then you said, okay, you passed the beer test. I feel like you could be the right franchisee. Now let's go find the real estate and get the lease done before you pay the check. It's such a different mindset that exists in franchising, and obviously then it turns into an awareness issue, because you're going to have someone out there that's going to sign a franchise agreement today with a brand that doesn't have the governor of, we're going to take care of you. And we're gonna make sure this is a lifetime value of the relationship is greater than taking your money, and that's the challenge. Like, how do you find the good ones out of the bad ones? Let's shift over to the investment. Potential earnings in item 19. How do you answer that?
Look. I don't know. You're so limited in how I can answer that question. You know what I mean? We're doing really well. Franchisees are doing really well.
What's the investment rate?
I don't have enough brothers, sisters, family members that I wish that I had more, that I would just say, listen, please be a franchisee. Trust me when I tell you that you're going to, it's kind of like that. What's the investment range? Another loaded question, because, again, what do I do? What would be good enough for me? Would it be that I go in there and spend $2 million in leasehold improvements and then spend another $700,000 in equipment and open up a gym for 2.7 million? No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. That's more money that I spent on opening up 8 clubs, let alone 1. I wouldn't do it. If I can't get the right deal with the landlord, with the right amount of TI, tenant improvement allowance, and there's going to be some guarantees there, but we're not afraid of those guarantees because we have a great track record. And if it's not good enough for me to do myself, why am I going to do it? I'm not going to do it. So we don't mind having to sign something reasonable in order to get the landlord to make an investment in the landlord space. Why am I buying air conditioner for the landlord? It's his building, not for her building, not mine. I'll buy equipment, but I'll do as little TI as possible. And if I don't get that, then, I'm sorry, but we're off to the next one, because I got 5 letters of intent in my bag right now I can be working on. I don't need to be working on a site where I have to make that kind of massive investment just to be able to move in and say hello. And then I want some free rent. And then, there's all kinds of things where we limit the amount of money that's necessary to open up one of these wonderful large locations, 20,000 square foot gym, to a fraction of what you might see typically on the item 19 and, so on.
Love it. Let's get to the vision. This is going to be a larger statement, and I know that it's a larger statement. But you take any of the brands that are exploding right now, the power washing home based brands, call it the explosion brands. If you're behind that, oh man, like it would be a much better brand. You went from franchisee to accidental franchisor to protecting the royalties to making sure that the deal's right, to saying we're looking for home runs, to being able to walk away from deals on people and the landlord. Like, you've set up such a beautiful business. What's the vision now? What's going to make you happy in the next few years?
We're going to open up 3 to 5 locations per year, corporately and franchise wise. And we're also going to be selling corporate locations as as the franchisees become more aware of us, so that we can, because we can't run, we can only do so much corporately without growing exponentially at the corporate level. And we want to focus a lot more on franchising, but we always want to be in the game corporately. So as somebody buys a corporate location and becomes franchisee, we want to open up another corporate location and just keep on, keep the water flowing, so to say. But yeah, I would say 3 to 5 per year on franchising, and maybe 3 per year corporately. Stay in the New Jersey, New York, tri-state area, expand maybe into Long Island, Connecticut, Philadelphia marketplaces a little bit. But there's plenty of room in the markets that we're in, because it's the densest area in the country, and we don't need to. We can double or triple our footprint without leaving where we are. So we don't have to go, no offense to Columbus, Ohio, but we don't have to go to Columbus, Ohio, or Pittsburgh, or anywhere else. Now, if the right deal falls, we have the right operator out there and they really know what they're doing, we would look at other markets, but we're not focused on it right now.
This is a simple question, but is it almost like a blessing? You said I don't have to be doing this. When the pressure is off your back and you don't have to be doing something, does that end up being the big blessing and what you're accomplishing with this business?
We're in control of our own lives. We're in control of what we're doing. And we hope that a franchisee would have that same element of control when they're not pressured financially to do things or to not do things. And the last thing that we need is some kind of a financial partner breathing down our neck, telling us that we didn't open up enough stores this year, and as a result, we have to step aside away from the management of the company. We get calls all the time from private equity. They want to, come on in and give us a check for whatever, $10 million or however many millions. And, I said to one of them, I'm like, okay, I got an idea. Write me a check and then call me in 5 years. and then I'll give you back triple the amount. Otherwise, just leave me alone. I'm not interested in your money because we don't need it. We're doing so well that we don't need their money. Our clubs are doing great. We have great credit worthiness. We have a great signature. We have what we need in order to fulfill our growth obligations, to fulfill any franchising requirements. And if there's an opportunity there, we'll find whatever money is necessary to satisfy that opportunity or to meet it.
I was looking forward to this conversation based on the nuggets that I uncovered before I went into it. But I'm more pumped up about this conversation than I've been in a while, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you sharing some of your story on this today. You're
look,
thinking of it the right way.
I don't want to sound arrogant or in any way like pompous or hey, we don't need their money. I'm the big shot. We're learning every day. We're trying to get better every day. There's not a day that goes by that we don't say, hey, we could do that better. We could do this better. And I don't care if it's screwing something, a piece into a leg press machine on the floor of one of the gyms, or a better way to manage, or a better way to work with franchisees or whatever it is. We don't pretend to know everything. We do know that we're doing well, and we have a good recipe for growth, for success within our clubs, within our marketplace. We have a great name, great brand. It's well respected, and we think that it's worth investing in that to continue to grow and build it.
Dennis, I'm looking forward to seeing where this story goes. I appreciate you sharing it with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Dennis, I'm Nick. This is another Franchisor Hot